So, welcome everybody. Episode 19. I want to say a huge thank you to my next guest, Ben Hurd, joining me on the pod this week to share all about his football experiences and injury experiences throughout his career. So, first of all, Ben, thank you for coming on. How are you? I know I think it's safe to say you're a busy man.
Yeah, well, firstly, thank you, Michael, for having me on. Honestly, it's a real privilege to be able to come on and someone's actually interested in your backstory a little bit as well. So thank you for that. I do appreciate it. And yeah, I'm very busy at the minute. Well, I have been for the last 10 years or so, really, since I sort of left professional football. Yeah, trying to make a life for myself outside of that, and love the game, hate the industry, and trying to do it in my own sort of way, really. So yeah, just busy doing that, and as well with a wife and three boys as well at home is yeah, I've got my hands full.
So I think the first question I sort of want to ask is what was the start of your career like? You know, the younger days when you were making it as a professional. What was your I suppose your route up into the professional game?
Oh, you're going to take me down this route. I love it. So I was from St Albans in Hertfordshire, and I've got a twin brother called Tom, and obviously when you've got a twin brother, it's really handy when you play football because you just stick him in goal, and that's what we did really. So I look at my life, from an early age, I always had a ball, always had a ball. I just about remember having a ball in the 1990 World Cup. Um, World Cup, it's Italia, wasn't it? It's Italy, 1990. And yeah, I just remember that. We had a field at the back of our house as well. Not that we lived in a big house or anything like that. It was just happened to have a field at the back, which me and my brother used to play football with my dad. I think legend has it that my mum would tell me that my dad would have him, my brother, and I kicking a tennis ball against a radiator in the front room, sort of thing. When we was just about to walk. So yeah, football just played a massive part in my upbringing. Really, we didn't really have computers back then. In like the early 90s, I'd say I was born in 85, so late 80s, early 90s, it's unheard of really to do anything else than play outside. So that's what we did. And then again, I started off with my local club, St Albans City Youth, and I wasn't there too long, to be honest with you. It started off on a Saturday morning, without any games or anything like that, just training, as a 6-year-old probably. And then by the time I was 8, Watford had picked me up. They came to, and that was quite rare, I suppose, in them days because it wasn't an academy system as it is now. It was a centre of excellence, and there was a scout called Bob Harbour, and he come to watch me play. I remember the game now. I can remember exactly where it was and everything like that. I remember my coach, who was a dad of the team, John Seaby, his name was, and his son was called Chris, and he was like, "There's a Watford scout, and he's looking at you two today," and I really wanted to impress him, and that's what I'd say. Even when I was a kid, we moved house, and I lived in a cul-de-sac. And we had a green outside the front of the house, so my brother and I would have a samba goal, and then we'd be out there every day. But sounds sad, really, but I'd always think the people in the houses all around us, there'd be a scout in there. Alex Fergus is watching you. So I'd have a great imagination. And equally, when I was playing, one minute I want to be Matt Letizia, the next minute I'm Alan Shearer, next minute I'm Teddy Sheringham, the next minute you're in goal and you're, I don't know, Fabian Barthez, whoever it was at the time. Like you just picture yourself being those players, really. But the scout, he obviously saw enough in me to give me a trial. Ironically enough, I got booked in that game as an 8-year-old, believe it or not. An actual yellow card come out. I was mortified. And there's a £7 fine back then as well. And my coach was like, "You're paying that." And I didn't really do much to it, really. As the ball bounced, it was 50-50 with the goalie. And I felt I got there first, but I just sort of like shoulder barged him, I suppose. And he went flying. It's like crying. And yeah, I got done for it. Got booking. That was probably a sign of things to come, I'd say, with that tenacity and aggression probably that was in me. But yeah, that was my early days, and then I went to Watford. There was 4 of us from my club, actually, from the club that went there. And initially we trained. It was up at Woodside Leisure Centre in Garston, so and I lived at that side of St Albans, really. So it wasn't too far away, probably 10-minute drive. Really easy. If that, to be honest with you, a clear run, probably do it in about 5 minutes. So it was really easy. 1 hour a week, I think it was on a Thursday on a sand-based AstroTurf. I just really enjoyed it. I just loved being loved football. So it's just another training session for me, and I just loved the people that were there that were demanding of you, and like people like Chris Cummins. It was my first coach, and he took me all the way through till I was under 16, I think it was. But yeah, I just genuinely loved the game and just loved trying to impress people, and I wanted to be a footballer, from the day dot. And my insatiable appetite to get better and to improve and to be the best. That competitive streak in me was always there. And I was only a little lad, I still am, I suppose, 5'9", but I was always quite small, but I always wanted to punch above my station, if you like, and not get bullied off the ball and things like that sort of thing. So I quite liked getting stuck in and hurting the bigger boys, if you like, because I needed to prove that I wasn't too small to play, basically. So that was my early journey into it, and I signed there at Watford. And back then, you didn't play games; you just played them in the holidays, really, against other sort of teams and establishments. And in the end, it was my friend Chris Seaby and myself that signed there. And it was under 10s or under 11s, I think it was at that point. And it was really the sliding doors moment for both of us in some ways, because they'd offered us a contract. And that's a story in itself, I suppose, but I'll cut it sideways. But basically, I hadn't been to training for ages when we was about 9, 10. Because my mum was taking us everywhere, like Fort Park, just in school holidays type of thing. She had 3 children, single mum. She liked doing stuff with us, so we went everywhere. And I remember going there one time, and my mate had been offered a contract when I wasn't there. I was like, "What do you mean you've been offered a contract? What's going on here?" And I remember John McDermott, who's now the FA technical director, so he's quite a high up job, obviously, and he's a good man as well. And basically, he looked at me and went, "I really like you. You do really good. I haven't seen you for ages. So if you come next week, you'll have one of these contracts as well." I remember him saying it to this day. And the next week, you're not going to believe it, Muscle had an inset day. Where's my mum taking us? Alton Towers. And I'm like, no, I'm not going. She's like, what do you mean not going? I went, no, I'm not going. She's like, well, what am I going to do with you? So I went from on that Thursday, I went to about 4 people's houses during the day because someone to look after me basically before my mate, because he was at school. It was an inset day before my mate's mum or dad, whoever it was, took us to training. But that was my sort of determination that I wasn't going to miss the opportunity to get a contract. If it meant missing Alton Towers as a 9, 10-year-old, then so be it. I wasn't bothered. I wanted to get that contract and to do that. And then, unfortunately for my mate, it was a bit strange really, but you had the option to sort of leave your Sunday league club and go full time now at Watford every game, every week you're playing against obviously other clubs, or stay with your Sunday league team for another year, but keep training with Watford and just play during the holidays. And it was a no-brainer for me. Straight away, I'm leaving the Sunday League club and obviously doing that. But he didn't. His dad was a manager still, and he stayed there for another year, sort of thing. And I just felt that you could see markedly how different and how much more people improved within that time of the games that we played and everything like that. So that was quite a big pivotal moment, I'd say, even at 10. So that was my early journey. Sorry to waffle on, but that was my early journey. The Premier Reserve League, with Nigel Gibbs became manager of the reserve team. Ray Lewinson went up to the first team, became manager there. Fioli unfortunately got sacked. Nigel Gibbs really took a shine to me. I still speak to Gibbo to this day. He's a really good guy, and I really enjoy the people around me at that time. Were really good. Growing up at Watford, when you look at that era at Watford, people are in the game that's gone on and done extraordinary things. From, like I say, John McDermott, who's now the FA technical director, the top job in the land other than Thomas Tuchel. He's appointing Thomas Tuchel, effectively. You've got people like Dave Hockaday was my youth team manager, played 600 odd games, went on to manage Leeds United for a little bit. He's, developer of talent, was really, really good. So then you've got Nigel Gibbs, people like that around you as well. I mean, the dressing room at the time, I think there's Sean Dyche was in there, Neil Cox in there, Neil Ardley was in there, Stephen Glass. All of them have become managers. As well. So the standards were really high. Terry Byrne, who went off to become David Beckham's personal manager. So these people around you were really influential, and not once did the demands were really high, but never once did I feel as though I was getting picked on or dug out or anything like that. Sort of, I just felt like that's the challenge, and sometimes you were told in uncertain terms, which is fair enough, but that was the challenge, and that was what was going to make me better for a start, but more resilient as well. And that was that. So unfortunately, though, my ceiling, if you like, at that particular club was the first team. I didn't break into the first team. I started my first year as a professional player. I wasn't on it as much. Now I'd always been a good pro and everything like that, but my lifestyle, I think, off the pitch wasn't good. And I don't mean I was a party boy or anything like that. Far from it. But I didn't have. I moved. I lived in Diggs to start with when I was at Watford. And my dinner was on the table at a certain time. We went to bed at a certain time. Everything was done methodically. That structure was really, really good for me. It allowed me to become and focus fully on my football. Then when I went signed professional at Watford, I moved back home in St Albans, which is not far from the training ground. But all of a sudden, like, my mum's a single mum. She's still working. My mum was only 21 when she had me. So, at 16, 17, she's in her late 30s, and she's out and doing stuff and everything like that. She's busy. So, having a routine and a structure wasn't really there for me. So I then went to become I lived with my wife's mum and dad, actually, where my structure became much, much better. And then my second year as a pro, I did really, really well again. And I started to get into the first team squad and obviously things like that. So I travel with the team, anything like that, but ultimately didn't make the breakthrough. So when Ray Lewington came, and ITV Digital just collapsed at the time, and Ray Lewington came on his day off, I think, came in and said, like, look, we're not going to offer you a new deal. I'd like to keep you, but the constraints I'm under, the chairman doesn't want to keep you because you haven't played for the first team in 2 years. You've been the pro here. So I was like, no problem. I really thanked him for that, to be honest with you, because it was early as well. I wanted it to be early. I kept asking sort of this time of year, late February, early March, and it gave me the opportunity to go out and train other places. Other teams that had seen me play. I probably played getting on for 100 games in the Premier Reserve League, around that sort of figure, I'd say. So I'd had really good experience of playing against Premier League players on a weekly basis. It's obviously a really difficult league, and I felt I was ready to go and play. I was 19, going on 20, nearly 20 at that time, and I was ready to go. I knew I was good enough to go and play in the Football League and forge a career for myself and bounce back, if you like. That's what I wanted to do. So I went to a few clubs on trial, but obviously Shrewsbury Town being one of them, and that's where I signed and made my debut in that season, 2005, at home to Rochdale at the Gay Meadow. And loved it. Loved every second of it. Loved every second of my career, to be honest with you. Like, I loved the highs. I loved the lows. They shape and make you. And I'd do it all again tomorrow if I could.
What would you say is your most memorable game as a professional footballer?
Blimey, there's some good ones. There's some really good ones. There's lots for different reasons, but I suppose you're really going for the top like experiences. For me, it would be the shirt you probably see behind me when I played at Wembley. I can tell you about injuries in a second. So in 2007, I played at the new Wembley Stadium as it was there. I think we were the first playoff game to be staged at the new Wembley Stadium. So that's quite good, because there's only one first, and that was that. So in front of 63,000 people against Bristol Rovers. So for a League Two game, that's pretty good, in terms of attendance and crowd. So that was an incredible feeling, playing on the park and playing in the green in front of my house, and actually playing at Wembley. How many times have you played the game Wembley with your mates? Wembley single, Wembley doubles, or whatever it is, and then all of a sudden you're touching the grass and you're going, "Oh, it's like Wembley," and it actually is Wembley. It's even now I get goosebumps thinking about it. So that was that, and the circumstances behind that. Again, we can go into that in a second with the injury side of things. But that was a massive, big thing for me to, say I played at Wembley. And what I found early on in my career as well, once you've done something, no one can take it away from you, can they?
Yeah.
I've played in the Football League. If it's one game, I could say I played in the Football League. If you think I'm rubbish, that's great, but I still played in the Football League. As it happens, I went on to play several hundred games in the Football League. But when I played at Wembley, I mean, kids and that one around the world want to play at Wembley. It's in the hundreds of thousands, if not millions, probably. So to do that, unfortunately we lost. We lost against Bristol Rovers, but nonetheless a bittersweet moment for me, because I shouldn't have played in it really, but I did, and didn't get the opportunity again. So I take that, and then again for all the shot fans as well. When I played and captained the team against Manchester United, beating West Ham at Upton Park with Danny Hilton, I think you've had on here before, scoring a winner late on. Great times, really good times, and then leading the team out to play against Manchester United, Sir Alex Ferguson's teams, some unbelievable players in that time as well from them, and to play against those guys was incredible, really. So lots of good memories, and it brings a smile to my face now to reminisce. You forget about them a little bit.
Yeah, that United game is still spoken about by everybody at the club. They still bring up. They've still got the shirt up there. It's fond memories, although obviously the result, but I think for the town and the people working there, the fans that work there and stuff, it's a memory I don't think anybody's gonna forget ever. I guess so. Obviously, this podcast is about sports injuries. Now, the first sort of question I've got for you really is sort of when was your first experience of an injury in your professional career, and in turn, did it really cross your mind, injuries and how complex the whole process is from getting injured to the recovery to coming back, or was that, what was on your mind?
Well, it's a good question. First injury I properly had in professional football. Nothing major, really. I'd say I was quite fortunate. Well, is it fortunate? Probably not. I conditioned myself really well. I really worked hard in training every day. I think my upbringing as well played a big part in that. I'd do different sports. Monday I'd be doing badminton and football. I'd be doing swimming on Tuesday. It's a real just a sport sort of family, if you like, and just always out there doing different sports. So I think that helps you as a youngster with your movements and your biomechanics and how you form yourself going into your adolescent years and then your adulthood sort of thing. So I've always been a busy little player as well. Always running around and being on the balls of my feet, sort of thing. And so I feel like soft tissue injury wise, I didn't really suffer too much at all. I don't think I ever got a pulled calf or a pulled hamstring or anything like that. That didn't happen. All my injuries were impact injuries really. Or the worst one I got was when I played for Shrewsbury. We were playing Barnet away on a Tuesday night. It was in March, but it was freezing cold. I just remember it like it was just grey and overcast, but the wind, it felt like -3 or something like that. I just remember it being freezing cold. And within like literally about 5 minutes, I've run, and it's strange because my studs have got caught in the ground, and my talus in my leg was smashed into my talar dome and just the bridge of my top of my foot basically. And yeah, it was a bad injury, like a really bad injury, and I was out for 10 weeks with that. And the prognosis, I didn't realise this at the time. I went to see a specialist in Gabowen, which is in North Wales, obviously not a million miles away from Shrewsbury. Dr. Simon Roberts, his name was, or Mr. Simon Roberts, his consultant. And yeah, he had an MRI scan on it, and it was it was really interesting because I had a physio at the time. He's a lovely, lovely man, Joe Hinnigan, he played for Sunderland, he played for Wigan. He's a really nice man, and he was a physio. He was a footballer, ex-footballer, come physio type thing, and he was really funny, like really, really funny. But I went back to the injury itself was like really slow, really, really slow. Anyway, fast forward 10 weeks, we're now playing at Wembley, and the manager calls me. We beat MK Dons in the on the Friday night, and obviously I'm from St Albans, so not a million miles away from MK. So went back home for the weekend that time, and the manager rang me. He was definitely pissed. He rang me and said, "I'm going to play you next week, starting at Wembley against Bristol Rovers. Yeah, I'm going to play right wing. I'm going to go really defensive against their left side. I think it was Joe Jacobson or Carruthers, I think it was, and a lad called Lewis Haldane." And I was like, okay, yeah. How's your leg? I was like, oh, will you take an injection for me? You get a steroid put into it. And I was like, yeah, I will, yeah. But I want something back from you. I want you to assure me I don't expect to start. I haven't kicked a ball in 10 weeks. I've kept myself really good, though. A friend of mine, Dave Edwards, who played for Shrewsbury at the time with me, him and I, we did our own treatment, basically. We used to check in with the physio in the morning, and then we'd go on our bikes all day, go all around, like Shropshire, like genuinely just all around Shropshire, go for miles. We'd come back in the afternoon, tell him what we'd done, basically. But I went to Lillyshaw as well in that time, like the National Centre for rehab and stuff like that sort of thing. So, and some of the bike rides they made you do was tough. But so I knew I was in a good place. So I said yes, I'd do have a steroid injection just to get it over the last like little bit of final hurdle, as it were. And I said to the manager, I said, but if I'm going to do this, I need to know that I'm going to be in the squad. I'm going to be on the bench. I don't expect to start. I don't think that's fair, but to be on the bench, he's like, yeah, you're definitely going to do that. I'm going to start it, but you're definitely going to do that. So I had it done, and I went back to the consultant, and he was, how'd you go on with your Beckham boot? And that was a new thing back then, the Beckham boot, the protective boot. And I've just looked at him because when I had the scan, it was on a Friday, and I was going back home, and like the physio went, Joe said, "Go on, you go. I'll deal with the rest of it. I'm only up the road, sort of thing. You go home. You got to beat the traffic and that go. I was like, okay, thank you." So I went. So I never actually spoke to the consultant after my MRI scan until this time, 10 weeks later, and he's putting the steroid injection in my ankle, in my leg, in my foot, sorry, and he's going, "How did you find the David Beckham boot then?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, I think I told Joe, I gave him a plan of your rehab, the Beckham boot, you're going to be in that for the first sort of 6 weeks. So how'd you get on with that? I was like, 6 weeks? I was doing terrace runs, hobbling along after 6 weeks. Like, I was trying to get me to kick a ball after 6 weeks. What do you mean, like, a Beckham boot? And he was like, oh, God, what are you talking about? And I was like, yeah, he said, what's your rehab plan? Like, so I told him, like, yeah, been like literally, I was dragging my leg, like trying to like run up the terraces, like sort of. Because in my mind, look, that's just me all over, really. Like, I'll give it a go. I'll give it a go, basically. And just because it's not feeling great, I still want to give it a go. I don't want to get behind on the fitness or anything like that sort of thing. So I'll do it to the detriment of myself, probably. But then when he said to me, he said, look, this is quite a serious injury you had here. It's called like Spitfires, a pilot's injury. Because in World War II, when they ditched a plane, they'd smash into the ground like that, and the tail of the dome would smash like that, and you have a honeycomb where your tail of dome is basically. And if you shatter that, and he said you've done everything but shatter that, basically, you know, if you fracture that or anything like that, it's really difficult to pin it. It's really difficult to do any operation to it because ultimately there's nothing there, just goo underneath. So it's really difficult to get it back to where it needs to be. So you're actually very lucky you can play football again. So when he said this, I was like, I didn't realise it was this serious. I thought it was bad, but like not that bad. And yeah, so that was that really. But I did have the injection. It did take the edge off it. We stayed actually around the corner from where I am now in Hertford. We stayed in a place in Ware, hotel there to go to Wembley. We trained at Watford's training grounds as well, so it's very strange. And then the manager came and knocked on my door just as we was leaving. Well, he named the team, and I wasn't in the team, which okay, no problem. But he hadn't named the sub bench. And then he knocked on my door about an hour before we were due to leave the hotel to go to Wembley. And he looked distraught, I've got to say. And he said, can you come outside and I'll chat with you? And I had a teammate of mine, Kelvin Langmead, in the room. We shared rooms and we were thick as thieves, me and him. And I said, Gaffer, look, just come inside now because, listen, what are you going to tell me out there? I'm going to tell him anyway in about 5 minutes' time. So to be fair to Kelvin, I think he busied himself and went into the toilet and shut the door, sort of thing. So he gave us a bit of privacy, but nonetheless, it was an honest conversation. He just said, "Look, I'm not going to go with you on the bench today." He said, "I'm going to the left back Martini. He's got a little bit of a knock on his ankle, and I'm not sure how he's going to react to it. So I'm going to put the young lad Stephen Leslie on the bench. He's a natural left back. He's left-footed, and you know, so you're not going to go on the bench, sort of thing." And I think it's probably a lesson to some people as well. I didn't just take it lying down. I didn't just go, yeah, okay, Gaffer, no problem. I bit back, and I was like, no, you're out of order. You're out of order. I've put myself through this. I'm fit enough. You saw me train yesterday. I was brilliant in training last night. You know, my ankle's fine. I'm not sure about your ankle. I was like, no, rubbish. No, I'm not having that. No, my ankle's fine. I'm telling you now, my ankle's fine. I'm fit enough to play. I've looked after myself. You said to me I'll be on the bench. No, so I disagree. Politely, you're the manager. I know that, but I disagree with what your decision is because I'm ready. I'm ready to do it. And I didn't lace my boots up. As he said that, I had my boots ready, everything like that. I was going to lace them up and then get ready. And I didn't lace them up. I was like, I'm not playing. So I sulked. So I never really sulked in my life in terms of football, but I sulked on the bus, sat at the back as normal, and we had I think 4 police outriders, motorbikes, taking us around the hard shoulder of the M25. That's a great experience in itself as well, by the way. And then getting into Wembley, I was just sulking, thinking, I can't believe this. I'm not going to play. And then it really dawns on you. It really dawns on you when you start getting to in and around Wembley, and you're seeing all of a sudden you're seeing thousands of fans, literally thousands of fans. You're thinking, this is real. This is really real now. This is a big game. Just deathly silence on the coach. And all you can hear is just the music, and it's Glamorous by Black Eyed Peas, I think it was. And just remember that song to this day. It just brings back the memories, if you like. And yeah, look, the interesting bit here is that I'm in there in the dressing room, half sulking, and then there's a fitness coach comes up to me and says, "You're going to do the warm up." It's like before. The gaffer wants you to do it. Good experience for you. I think he's trying to give me something, give me something that I'll trod on the grass at Wembley or something. And I'm like, I've got the ump. No, this is rubbish. And we had a lot on loan goalkeeper from Bristol Rovers who couldn't play in the game, Scott Shearer. Him and I were going to go in the stand. And anyway, I went back into I was going to throw my shirt into the crowd as well. I wasn't buzzed. I had the ump, so it didn't mean anything to me. Got the shirt behind me, I was going to throw in the crowd. It's obviously got the embroidery with signature of the day and everything like that on it. But it didn't mean anything to me. If I wasn't going to play, it didn't mean anything. Maybe it's petulant, maybe, I don't know. But for me, it's all about, I want to play. And if I'm not playing, that doesn't mean anything. Sorry. That doesn't mean anything to me. So luckily I didn't throw it because I think we only had one. And I was doing the warm-up outside. It started to absolutely chuck it down with rain. I had my molds on. I didn't have a strapping on my ankle. Basically everything that you wouldn't do, I did, if you like. And then all of a sudden, and again, I have this sort of things that someone's looking after me somewhere. The physio Joe comes running over, hands on head. You're in. Come on, let's go. Come on. Jonesy's gone down. He's injured. He's locked his knee. Come on, you're in. I was like, what do you mean? I hadn't kicked a ball at this point. We're just doing the up and down warm up. And I was doing that probably half-hearted as well. And then, straight away, straight without kicking the ball, straight back down the tunnel. You're in. And then the gaffer's down there, Gary Peters. He had a bit of a twitch sort of thing when he got a bit nervous. He'd adjust his head and his hair sort of thing like that. And he's running around like this. And obviously my boots aren't done up. So then we got the assistant manager, John McMahon, Steve McMahon's brother. He's running around doing my boots for me. He's taking someone's shoelaces out their shoes and putting them in my football boots to lace them up because he didn't know where my laces were. So he's doing that for me. We've got 15 minutes till kick off. The doctor's putting a strapping on me. They're all running around like lunatics, and I'm probably the most coolest person in the room. And again, like throughout my career and injuries and stuff like that, just logic for me. It was just like, I can't lose here. I've been out for 10 weeks. If I break down in the first 5 minutes, it's expected. I've been out there 10 weeks. I've got a safety net below me. If you like, if I have an absolute stinker, again, I haven't played for 10 weeks. I've got a little bit of an out here. I just thought there's nothing to lose in my situation here. I thought this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. The person on the bench can probably feel really unhappy that I've sort of leapfrogged them, if you like. I haven't just gone on the bench and they've gone in the team. I've gone straight from nowhere to the first 11. So incredible story. And then all of a sudden, I just told everyone just relax. But everyone just relax a minute. I'm fine. Because they're going, don't be nervous, do you know? And I was like, no, I'm fine. I'm absolutely fine. Listen, would you relax, all of you? I'm going to be absolutely fine. Just calm down. And I went on there and had, total 90s. I think I did at the time, total 90s with black shoelaces in them. And then I just remember the feeling, the flamethrower type things, the heat of them things when I'm walking out, thinking, flipping hell, that's hot. Didn't realise how that hot. And then singing the national anthem in front of 63,000 people at Wembley. And playing, and I did well. I did well in the game. I knew I would because I knew the left winger for them. I'd always have a hold on him. I felt I always did really well against him. He never really got past me. I think I had his number, if you like, and I think I could see that in his eyes when he looked at me as well. I thought, you're not going to beat me today. He never beat me anyway. So I did okay. I think I lasted to about 83, 84 minutes, whatever it was. And I just cramped up and whatever, but yeah, magical experience, but tinged with regret and sadness that we didn't win after going 1-0 up as well. So that was a bit of a bittersweet moment in my career. But again, like the injury side of things, you can't write a script like that.
No, I was going to say, I think that's a very unique story, to be honest. I mean, the shoelace incident in itself is quite remarkable anyway. And the fact that, as you said, you didn't play and you lasted up to over 80 minutes is pretty remarkable again. And considering a lot of players, they probably be defeated by the nerves, and everyone go, oh God, what's going to happen here? And then he has a bit of a howler, but you seem to deal with the pressure really well.
I think that's just in life, though, to be honest with you. Life throws things at you all the time. It's not necessarily what it throws at you, it's how you react to it and what you do. Don't find problems in things, find solutions and see pragmatically and rationally how you can do those things. And I always had that in my career. Like, when I could rationalize things quite well and just make it make sense to me and just make it simple. Like players get nervous. I used to see players being sick, I'm apprehensive about a game maybe, but I'm not nervous. I'm certainly not quivering like that or anything like that. And, early on in my career when I was at Watford and I was having a bad time in my first year as a pro, I'd done really, really well. And I talked myself out of a game, Tuesday night game. We got all day Tuesday to think about it. I talked myself out of it by that point. So for me, the psychological sort of side of things was like, hang on a second, Ben, you're going to get released. You're going to get released. And what do you want to do? You can have, you've been there 12 seasons at Watford. I'm an 8-year-old kid. What are you going to do? You're going to have 11 good seasons and 1 bad season, and it's over. That's just stupid. So I remember when I was getting my end of my first year, Nigel Gibbs pulled me. And it's probably the most poignant thing anyone's ever probably said to me in my football life was, you signed a 2-year contract, Ben. If you hadn't signed a 2-year contract, we'd probably release you after this season because you haven't been good enough. And he was right. It hurt to hear someone say that, but he was absolutely right. So I remember going away that summer and telling my dad, and that was almost quite hard to tell your dad, like, there's a weakness here. And I just remember thinking to myself, okay, listen, Ben, if you're going to get released, you ain't going out like this. You're going out with everything. You're going to give yourself the best opportunity to not get released for a start, but also you're going to, if you are going to get released, you're going to go somewhere else where you're going to have a football league career. And that's what I did. And when I played, I found that quite logical as well. Look, who's the best person in my position at the time? Cafu. At the time after that, Dani Alves, two best Brazilian fullbacks, with Roberto Carlos obviously on the other side, and Marcelo. But then it was like, okay, do they make mistakes? Yeah, they do. Do they get paid a lot more than me? Yeah. Do they play for better clubs than me? Yeah. They play international football? Yes. Yes, yes, and yes. So if they make mistakes, Ben Hurd at Aldershot Town or Shrewsbury Town, he's definitely going to make mistakes. Otherwise, I'd be there. So, but then I factored in, okay, but how can I minimise? How can I mitigate these mistakes? And how can I minimise poor performance or anything like that? And it was, I have this saying now, and I showed my academy lads, controlling the controllables. So it's going to be my diet, my hydration, my lifestyle, my sleep, my recovery, my training. Everything was going to be on point with the information I had and my attitude and everything like that. So every day for me, training was a cup final. I'd come in muddy as anything. I'd be putting tackles out there that I'd do in a game. I wouldn't take it easy on anyone. And that's, for me, I don't think I was good enough to not train how I played, and that's just in my nature how I had to be. If you like, I didn't know any other way of training. I didn't know any other way of playing. If me and you're going to go and play chess, I want to beat you at chess. I want to win. If I'm going to play badminton, I still want to beat you. I'm going to do everything I can to win. And certainly football, obviously, whatever I've got to do on the pitch, I'm going to do to win the game of football. And for me, that's got to give everything as my maximum, because I was a tenacious up and down right back, basically. So for me, it was just being logical about those things. And sure, I'm going to make mistakes, but you know what? It's not going to be for the lack of any of those things I can control. And sure enough, your baseline is a 7 out of 10 every week, 7 out of 10 every week, and occasionally you might go a little bit above it, but not below it really. And it's amazing how much more consistency you get with that, and also that emotional side of the game as well. I was never one to get euphoric when I did well, when the team did well, or whatever. But equally, I wasn't one to get really really down when things weren't going so great. There was always a bit of an even balance. Yes, disappointed when it's not going well, because that needs to galvanise something inside you, but also not over the top when you're doing quite well, because you and I, we all know that this game bites you in the arse when you think you're ahead of it. So you've always got to be very, very coy about that sort of thing, in my opinion. So that's just psychologically how I used to deal with things, and still do to this day. And football's taught me so many good methods and toughness and resilience. And you think the industry that you're in there's someone trying to take your place and your job effectively every single day of your life. And every single day of your life, you're judged on your performance. So that's you have to get used to that, don't you? Otherwise, you'd never survive in it.
So what do you think pushed you through injuries more? Do you think it was your mental resilience that helped you the most, or do you think it was the support around you, or was there another reason for pushing yourself through what could it be bleak moments at times?
Do you know what? Look, I think there's some things in life you can control and some things in life you can't control. I can't control if someone comes and injures me through kicking me. What I can control, if I'm pulling my hamstring because I'm not drinking enough water and my body's dehydrated all the time and I'm neglecting myself, then that's my fault. Okay, because I'm not giving myself the best chance. But my injuries weren't that. My injuries I had, like I'd say, they were all either get my studs caught in the ground or getting impact injuries where someone smashed me. So there wasn't any of those. So I never got down about injuries. Yeah, look, absolutely devastated. I don't want to be out. I'm missing. I'm missing games. I'm out of the team. Of course, I don't want to let someone else come and take in and do really well whilst I'm out of the team as well, because I don't want to place back. So I was always like, that opportunity, that cost of opportunity was always the one that preyed on my mind. But ultimately, what I can't do anything about getting injured, but what I can do is how do I get back quicker? Now that's in my control to a certain extent. There's Mother Nature in there, and there's treatments and stuff like that, and the people around me. But at the same time, I can give myself the best chance of getting back quicker. So yeah, actually, my first game for Aldershot, it was incredible. I was out for 10 weeks again. I done my medial ligament. We playing Darlington at home. We were winning 4-1. I thought I'd take the piss and knock it through, round the side of someone, run around the other side of him. I did that, and they lunged and they threw me to the ground, but they landed on my knee. I I'm like part like 75% tear of my medial ligament. But again, I went to London to see a specialist every single day, and I was back from nearly a grade 3, nearly a complete rupture. I was back playing. I think it was 8 to 10 weeks. Can't remember now, but very quick for that sort of injury anyway, and it killed for months afterwards. But got through it. There's a pain threshold I could tolerate, and like didn't stop me doing things. It hurt when I landed on it and stuff like that. Probably for about 6 months afterwards. It really hurt at times. But ultimately, I'm at a new club. I've got to prove my worth here, and I've got to do really well, and I want to play and all those things. So there wouldn't be much that kept me out, but it was always the stuff I could control, and the stuff I couldn't control I didn't worry about. Now I sleep well at night because the things I can control I'll action and I'll do my best. The stuff I can't control I don't worry about because there's nothing I can do about those things.
What then would be your advice? Obviously, you put I think it's something which is one of the reasons why I started this podcast. It's one of the things that doesn't have any spotlight on it, I don't think, is sports injuries. Obviously, a player gets injured and you'll see the comments of he's made of glass or he's this, he's that, why is he here? He's what, like almost as if the player's choosing to be injured. So my question to you on that is, how do you deal with that sort of comment? Because for me, I obviously have a different opinion of it because of my experiences through my injury, but players get slaughtered for being out injured, and obviously no one wants to be out injured, but yet they are. So how do you deal with that?
Oh, it's a really individual question. No, I've seen players that I don't know if it's fair to say that really, but some players are more okay with being injured than others sometimes. Sometimes when it's wet, cold and windy outside and you've got to go and train in that and play in that, maybe you're having a bit of a bad time. Maybe for some players being on the injury table is a bit of a comfort for you. You don't have to be out there and you can hide behind an injury. How many players, like realistically, I couldn't tell you any time I played in my career where I wasn't anywhere near 100% fit. I was never 100% fit. There'd always be something, whether it be small, like bruised hand or whatever, or something else, or another knock somewhere where you're taking painkillers, to get you through the game. It's just what you do, really. So it's a difficult. I'll be honest, it's a really difficult question to answer across the board. But I can only say to myself and my experiences that I'd say there's some players that found it easier to be injured than not be injured, and how much are you really trying for the manager to get yourself back in the team, to help the team? Are you really pushing yourself? Are you doing the most you can do in your life in and around the ground and away from the ground that's going to help you get back quicker? Your lifestyle, everything that I've mentioned earlier. Are you looking after those sort of things to get yourself back in quicker? And when you do come back in, are you pushing yourself with the people around you as well to get yourself back in the best shape that when you do come back in, you're going to be not too far away from being match sharp, basically. So a lot of stuff going on there, I suppose. But I suppose a boring way of answering your question would be it's very individual.
Yeah, I think you couldn't have really put it better. I think a lot of players get a lot of abuse, and it's only really them that know whether they're able to play. Because I know a few people that have been on the podcast have said they've never been 100% fit. There's always been something. Some players have played through worse pain. Some players aren't able to play through certain pains, but also they've expressed their knowledge of the fact that some may not hold their standards of pain threshold and playing through it as high as others. I guess leading on from that, then my question for you is, for obviously you guys put yourself at risk every single day when you're playing. It's not just the match. Again, a lot of fans, they just see it as it's a football match and that's that. There's a lot more, as we spoke about before, that revolves around a football club than just the 90 minutes. You guys go to training, majority every day, and you put yourselves at risk. As you say, you play as if it's a match. So you're at risk of injury. You're at risk of damaging your body at some point, whether that be through the fault of someone or yourself or just pure unluckiness. How does that ever play on your mind, the thought of potentially you could get injured from something, or is that probably a worse thing to think about because you could duck out of a tackle, for example?
Exactly that. I'd say that no, never thought about the ramifications of being injured or anything like that sort of thing. I thought like if I condition myself like it's a match every day and push myself even more so with the intensity that's required for a match, and I do more than that off the pitch, in training, then I'm going to be better prepared to go into a match, and my body's going to be better prepared to not break on me as well. Again, like what I can't control is what other people do, and when you're doing Friday, you usually do pattern shape work, and sometimes you have the youth team come over, and maybe one of them is a little bit overzealous at times or whatever. I quite liked it at times because it's a good battle, but you get flipped over their shoulder when you're going up for a header or something like that, and you land on your shoulder on a Friday, and it's absolutely killing you, and you've got Bradford away on a Saturday, for example. You build your resilience in, though. I think over the years, I think you build pain thresholds up a little bit, even from the kid who's 10. At Watford, you build that up and up and up and up. It's that opportunity cost. You don't want to miss an opportunity. You don't want to let someone else take the opportunity. So for me, it's always probably fear that drove me on. Fear of someone coming in doing better than me, and then I'm out of the game. I'm out of the team. I'm out. I've got no career. Worst case, catastrophic answer, basically. So it was all. I think that drives me on in life now, though. To be honest with you, someone's going to do it better than you, Ben. You've got to be on the top of your game all the time. So that constant feeling of you're not good enough. Every day's a failure day. Get better. Get better. Get better. Push yourself more. All the time. All the time. And that's shapes you really as a person, I'd say. Professional football, and I think sport in general, Michael. I've got to say, I think that sport has a massive, massive role in people's lives. Not just the fitness and the health elements of it, but the psychological elements. We talk a lot about mental health and well-being and stuff like that these days. But if you get things, the basics right, your hydration, your sleep, your nutrition, stuff like that, and your exercising, you're playing sort of maybe competitive sport or any level, that's going to give you a hell of a lot more mental sort of clarity. And not saying it's the wonder pill, but I guarantee if you start doing those things, you're going to feel a lot better about yourself as well. So there's many things that I think sport does. And just touching upon your point earlier on about not having a lot of information out there, I think we're very much underserved by the top end of the game, of people giving out information and access to what their true sort of value is in the world. If you like, if you're the head of West Ham's physio, for example, if you're there and you've got 20-30 years of experience of top level Premier League, dealing with players and training regimes and diets, hydration, rehabs, prehabs, all the stuff that goes on to that, dealing with doctors, heart scans, you name it. That's very valuable to the outside world, isn't it? And something that probably seems quite mundane and ordinary to those guys is like revolutionary and revelationary to people like yourself and around the world. And there's probably millions of people like you out there going like, I just want to learn. I just want to see a little bit more. I just want to probe people a little bit more and get more interaction with these guys, because they're at the top level and they can help me. I know I'm not at the top level, but if I can see something at the top level that's smell it and feel it and touch it, wow, that's going to be amazing insight for me, and it's going to give me like maybe more peace of mind or clarity or more direction of what I'm trying to do with my injury. So I think that of all levels of football that we're really underserved from the elite. And when I say the elite, I mean professional footballers. Yes, the Premier League, of course, but also the other guys down in League Two, for example. They've got great journeys, great stories, great habits that they could really pass on and influence younger generations and entertain the everyone else as well. I think they have a big part to play. There just doesn't seem to be somewhere for them to actually do that, because social media is now an absolute sack of what. So it's really difficult to get those people on board doing stuff, because there's no upside for them, is there? It's all the hate and the rubbish that comes with all of that, and they don't get much upside in terms of like not monetizing it or anything like that. So what's the incentive for those guys to put themselves through that? There's no point, is there? Because they're going to get a barrage of abuse for nothing. So what's the point? And they'll get relatively well paid. If you're in the Premier League, you're extraordinarily well paid. But if you're in League Two, relative to the common man on the street, you're well paid as well. So it's all relative. So I think we're really underserved with content from people and their experiences and influence.
Yeah, I mean, I do. Obviously, I agree with what you said there, but I also do understand from footballers and that there's a lot of people that want to do this sort of thing that are actually out to get the footballers. There's always people out there trying to get them to slip up, clickbaiting titles and clipping up things that actually isn't what it actually is. But from the naked eye and from that 20-second clip, it looks bad, and then that could put a player off for ages or forever. So I understand there's both sides of that. But I do, yeah. I mean, the reason I started this podcast was simply to raise awareness of sports injuries, because people like myself don't play professional football. I said to you before, I know full well I am nowhere near and never have been a decent footballer. I am a basic Sunday league maybe play 30, 40 minutes. That's it. My cardio is terrible, but still suffering the same thing that a professional footballer can suffer. And I think the gap between the professionals and the normal people like myself is big, simply because the publicity is not out there. So I'm hoping that by doing this, it may not catch on to many people, but I'm hoping if it helps one person or it helps another, and they see someone like yourself or another professional that I've had on speaking about it, that they can relate to it more, and it resonates with them and helps them, obviously, going forward with their injuries.
No, absolutely. That's a really good thing to do. Information is really important, isn't it? Like when it comes from credible sources and experienced people that have been there, seen there, done it, and you can pass that back on to someone else who's going through something similar, then I think that's gold. I think that really is gold, because we get a lot now, certainly I think coaches and stuff like this sort of thing, infiltrating the football industry, that they've never been footballers in their lives, and they're all of a sudden trying to give guidance to people that about an industry that they've never really been in. And I think when you get first-hand information from people that have actually been at the coal face of things, that's worth a lot more than anyone else, basically, because they've felt it, they've smelt it, and they've done it. And that's a really, really big thing. And I wasn't the best player in the world, far from it, but at the same time, it takes a lot to have a career in the game and to stay in the game and to overcome injuries and the mental and physical side of the game that obviously your body gets battered on. And to pass that on to other people and to give them a heads up is, I think, a really, really powerful thing to be able to do.
So I guess my because obviously it's been a long podcast, I've really enjoyed it, and I think your stories, especially the one to Wembley, and you've been very honest about it, is really interesting and unique, and obviously no one else would have experienced that sort of thing. So that's why I love doing this podcast, because you get random stories like that link to injuries, may not be yourself, may not be something that's affected you massively, but it has some sort of influence. So I guess my final question to you is, what advice would you give to people like myself who suffer the same injuries randomly that professionals put themselves at risk of every single day? There was points when I was recovering at the very beginning where I didn't want to get out of bed, I didn't want to do anything, my mental state was completely kaput. What's your advice to someone like me in that situation? Rewind 2 years. How do you get back up? How do you keep going? What's there to aim for?
I think, again, like if you take the whole problem, your injury, if you like, and that road from impact or whatever it is, or pull, whatever it is, that initial stage of the injury to getting back to playing again. Okay, you've got to break that down, because that can sometimes seem quite a long. If it's a longer term injury, that can seem quite a daunting, long. God, flipping! I'm not going to be back for 3 months. Now, my challenge would also be like, well, they say if someone says it's 3 months, then I'm going to do it in 2. And then it's really about, look, you can feel sorry for yourself. Okay, it's not going to get you anywhere. So you've got to pick yourself up and make really small sort of targets. So, for example, it depends on the severity of the injury and what it is, and everything like that sort of thing. But it might be that I'm going to walk, I'm going to weight bear through crutches, for example. It's my first sort of initial thing. I'm going to be able to do that properly and get that mechanic of moving my foot maybe back to sort of normal, and obviously putting the strain mainly through the crutches. And then, in however long later, it might be a week, 10, whatever it is, I'm going to be crutch free. Okay, can I be fully weight bearing now without crutches, and unaided? So just really making it bite size and breaking down small targets all the time, and not putting yourself maybe a time limit. I've got to do it by this point. But just those stages, you're working toward, come on, I've got to get there, and just throwing yourself into it as much as you can. And that comes from research, looking at foods that help you, taking inflammation away and such like. Getting rid of toxins out your body, and just it's because it's never just the injury. It's always about your lifestyle as well. And if you can have a better lifestyle and eat better foods and drink obviously plenty more water and only water, then you're going to recover much quicker, aren't you? It's about your sleep as well. Everything's interlinked, is my point. But ultimately, I would say that to really, really not look at it as a whole, and to really set yourself little challenges of completing things, and maybe don't put a time limit on them, but okay, I want to be able to walk properly again. How am I going to get there? Right, I've got to do this first, I've got to do this, and then I've got to do this. And it's really just started to focus on those little small milestones, if you like, and then it's on to the next milestone. and then hopefully you're back sooner.
That's sweet. I think that's the perfect sum up of what's been a really, really enjoyable podcast. So thank you, Ben, for giving up your time, and I hope anybody listening has learned a thing or two, especially about that trip to Wembley.
Yeah, so do I. Yeah, and I'd just like to, obviously thank you for having me on here as well. And hopefully, there's really only two football league teams I played for, which were Shrewsbury Town and Aldershot Town. And I just want to say that I had an unbelievable time playing for both of them, and really wore the shirt with pride, and loved my time at both clubs. The first teams I look out for every week. Not Tottenham, who I support. It's always them two teams, how they're getting on, what they're doing. So I keep abreast of what's going on all the time, and I like to feel as though I played some sort of part in the history of a football club, which gives me great, satisfaction. And I'm always going to be affiliated and aligned with those clubs, in my life. And both gave me so much out of the game as well. And I can only thank the people and the supporters of those clubs as well, and the people around them club, my teammates of those clubs, for making it a really great experience. And I've taken a lot from that and into what I do on a daily basis. It plays a massive part in my life and who I am as a person.